The air hung thick and heavy, a suffocating blanket of humidity. Bangkok's bustling streets buzzed with life, oblivious to the nightmare unfolding at my feet. Accused of a crime I didn't commit, I was a pawn in a game I didn't understand. The weight of the handcuffs on my wrists was nothing compared to the crushing realization that my life, as I knew it, was over. Fear, raw and primal, pulsed through me. Every instinct screamed to run, to fight, to escape the clutches of the unsmiling officers. But resistance was futile. I was dragged through the throngs of people, their curious stares burning into me like hot coals. Shame washed over me, a bitter tide threatening to drown me. The police station was a cacophony of chaos. Unfamiliar smells assaulted my senses, stale sweat, strong disinfectant, and a lingering aroma of fear. I clung desperately to fragments of hope. Surely this was all a terrible mistake. Surely someone would listen, would believe me. As the hours bled into an eternity, my hope began to dwindle. The reality of my situation crashed down with the finality of a slammed cell door. I was going to prison, a Thai prison. My heart pounded against my ribs, a frantic drumbeat against the bars of my newfound reality. The clang of the metal gate echoed in the oppressive silence. The air was thick with the stench of sweat, urine, and despair. This was my new home, a concrete box shared with dozens of other women. Gone were the familiar comforts of my life, my bed, my clothes, my freedom. In their place, a thin mat on the cold floor and a gnawing emptiness in the pit of my stomach. The faces around me were a tapestry of fear, defiance, and resignation. Some women, hardened by years of confinement, barely acknowledged my arrival. Others, their eyes wide with terror, clung to their meager possessions as if they were lifelines. I was a stranger in a strange land, stripped bare of everything that defined me. The first night was an agonizing blur. Sleep was a distant dream, chased away by the stifling heat, the incessant buzzing of mosquitoes, and the bone-deep fear that clawed at my sanity. Every creak of the metal bunks, every muffled sob in the darkness sent shivers down my spine. The walls seemed to close in, suffocating me, reminding me that I was trapped. Days blurred into weeks, each one an agonizing repetition of the last. The world outside, with its vibrant colors and familiar sounds, felt like a distant memory. Here, within these walls, time stood still. There was only the crushing weight of the present, the suffocating reality of my confinement. In the suffocating confines of prison, humanity found a way to bloom. The women I shared my cell with were not faceless inmates, they were individuals, each with their own story of heartbreak, resilience, and quiet strength. There was Maya, her face etched with the wisdom of a life lived hard, who taught me the intricate art of weaving baskets from discarded plastic bags. And young Anya, her eyes still shining with a spark of defiance, who shared her dreams of becoming a doctor, a beacon of hope in a place where dreams often withered and died. Language barriers crumbled under the weight of shared experiences. We communicated through gestures, broken phrases, and knowing glances. Laughter, when it came, was a precious commodity, a fleeting moment of joy in a sea of despair. We clung to these moments, savoring them like drops of water in a parched desert. One face, etched in my memory, belonged to a woman named Noi. Her gentle eyes held a depth of sadness that mirrored my own. She became my confidant, my rock in a storm of uncertainty. With her limited English and my even more limited Thai, we built a bridge of understanding, sharing stories, fears, and fragments of hope. She reminded me that even in the darkest of places, the human spirit had an astonishing capacity for kindness and connection. These women, my fellow inmates, became my unlikely family. They taught me the true meaning of resilience, the power of human connection, and the importance of finding hope in the most unexpected places. They showed me that even within the confines of prison walls, the human spirit could not be truly broken. The hunger gnawed at me, a constant companion in the suffocating heat of the prison. The meager rations of rice and watery soup did little to satisfy the aching emptiness in my stomach, but it was the hunger for freedom, for the familiar sights and sounds of the outside world, that truly consumed me. Hygiene was a luxury we couldn't afford. The air was thick with the stench of sweat, mold, and despair. Water, a precious commodity, was rationed, used sparingly for drinking, washing, and flushing the squalid toilets. Privacy was non-existent. Every aspect of our lives laid bare within the confines of the crowded cell. Fear was a constant undercurrent, a silent threat that lurked in the shadows. The guards, with their stern faces and indifferent eyes, wielded power with casual cruelty. Violence, simmering just beneath the surface, could erupt with terrifying speed, fueled by frustration, desperation, and the suffocating pressure cooker of prison life. Every day was a battle against despair. The stifling heat, the constant noise, the lack of privacy, it all chipped away at my sanity. I clung to the memories of my life before prison, to the faces of loved ones, to the hope of one day tasting freedom again. Even in the depths of despair, flickers of hope stubbornly refused to be extinguished. Acts of kindness, small and unexpected, bloomed in the unlikeliest of places. A shared smile, a whispered word of encouragement, a smuggled piece of fruit. These became my lifelines, reminding me that even in this brutal environment, humanity endured. One scorching afternoon, as I sat hunched over a piece of intricate beadwork, a shadow fell across my work. I looked up, my heart pounding, expecting to meet the cold gaze of a guard. Instead, I found Noi, her face creased with concern. In her hand she held a single, perfect mango, its skin glowing like burnished gold in the dim light. "For you," she whispered, pressing the fruit into my hand. The sweetness of the mango, shared with a friend, tasted like hope. Another time, a group of us huddled around a flickering candle, sharing stories from our lives before prison. For a precious few hours, we were transported back to a time before bars and barbed wire. A time when laughter came easily, and the future stretched before us, full of promise. These moments, brief and bittersweet, were a potent reminder that even in the darkest of places, the human spirit could find solace in connection and shared humanity. Prison broke me. It stripped away my illusions of control, my sense of self, my faith in humanity. But in the process, it also forged something new within me, a resilience I never knew I possessed, a fierce determination to survive. I learned to find strength in the most unexpected places, in the shared laughter of my fellow inmates, in the quiet moments of contemplation, in the unwavering belief that one day, I would walk free again. I discovered a capacity for empathy I never knew I had, a deep understanding of the human condition that transcended cultural barriers and societal norms. The woman who entered those prison gates was not the same woman who walked out. I had stared into the abyss of despair and emerged, scarred but not broken. I had learned to appreciate the simple things in life, the warmth of the sun on my skin, the taste of fresh fruit, the sound of my loved ones' voices. Most importantly, I had learned the true meaning of freedom. It was not just the absence of physical confinement, but the freedom to choose my own thoughts, my own actions, my own destiny. Time, once an endless expanse, became a tangible thing, measured in sunsets and meals and the slow turning of the calendar pages smuggled into our cell. Hope, once a flickering flame, grew stronger, fueled by the thought of freedom. I clung to the thought of reunion with my loved ones, picturing their faces, their embraces. Letters from home, arriving like precious gifts, became my lifeline, proof that I was not forgotten, that the world outside still existed. Each day marked off on the makeshift calendar brought me one day closer to freedom. I poured my energy into learning Thai, into practicing yoga in the cramped confines of our cell, into anything that could distract me from the gnawing anxiety and keep my spirit from breaking. The date of my release became my mantra, repeated silently in the dead of night, whispered like a prayer during moments of despair. It was the light at the end of a very long, very dark tunnel. The day of my release dawned like any other, hot and humid, filled with the familiar sounds of prison life. But beneath the surface, a current of electricity crackled in the air. This day was different. This day, I was going home. The final hours crawled by with agonizing slowness. Every clang of a cell door, every shouted command from the guards, sent my heart racing. Then, the moment I had been dreaming of for what felt like an eternity arrived. My name was called. The walk to the prison gates was a blur. I moved through a haze of disbelief, my legs feeling shaky and unreal. And then I saw them, my family, their faces etched with a mixture of joy and relief, waiting to welcome me back into the world. The gates swung open and I stepped out into the blinding sunlight. The air was sweet with the scent of freedom. I took a deep breath, filling my lungs with the intoxicating taste of liberty. Tears streamed down my face, a mixture of joy, relief, and the lingering trauma of my ordeal. I was free. Freedom, once a distant dream, was now my reality. But the journey back to normalcy was long and arduous. The scars of my imprisonment ran deep, etched onto my soul, a constant reminder of the darkness I had endured. The world outside felt overwhelming, a cacophony of sights, sounds, and sensations. Simple tasks like navigating a crowded street or ordering a meal filled me with anxiety. The nightmares came at night, vivid and unrelenting, dragging me back into the depths of my prison cell. But gradually, with the unwavering support of my loved ones and the resilience forged in the crucible of my ordeal, I began to heal. I found solace in sharing my story, in using my experience to advocate for criminal justice reform, in reminding the world that hope can bloom even in the darkest of places. My time in Thai prison had been a nightmare, a brutal interruption of the life I had known. But it had also been a profound teacher, forcing me to confront my own mortality, my own capacity for strength and resilience. It had taught me the true meaning of freedom, the importance of human connection, and the transformative power of forgiveness. And for that, I would be forever grateful.